Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate y'all tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast. You know, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like, you dislike, go ahead, shoot me a call, 219-413-9405, and we will play your take back on our next episode. Now, look, we got a lot of different things to cover. Dallas, we're going to be out there a lot today. Let's just go ahead and say it. One of my callers, he called about Dallas, and we're going to be out there in Dallas a lot today. But starting off, I got to start with the Dallas Mavericks because I think this Dallas Mavericks team has some true potential to really go all the way to the finals and be some true title contenders. Like, I think the Dallas Mavericks is an elite team in a Western Conference this year. And I know it sounds a little bit crazy because, you know, they're sitting, 8th in the West right now or 9th in the West right now. They're looking pretty bad in the standings right now when it comes to the Western Conference. So I get why people may laugh a little bit when I say the Dallas Mavericks may go to the finals. But hear me out here. They've had some injuries on this course of the season so far. Kyrie was out for a little bit. Luka had some time where he wasn't playing a little bit. And it also took them a little bit of time to just get into a groove and really feel for each other's playing style and feel for the new members who joined during the trade deadline, PJ Washington. Like, there's been a few different things where they had to figure it out, you know? Like, everything doesn't just snap and turn perfect. But above all of that, I think Luka, Doncic, and Kyrie Irving are perfectly enough to get the job done, bro. Hear me clearly. I know it's going to sound a little bit crazy, but Kyrie Irving playing with Luka Doncic gives me Bron and Kyrie vibes back in Cleveland in 2016. I know it's a little bit crazy to even consider this as somewhat of a similar duo, but hear me, bro. Look, I'm saying because Kyrie is playing with somebody who is like not ball dominant, but can control the offensive tempo, can score from anywhere on the floor, can score whenever he wants to, can shoot the blood out the ball. It helps his game a lot because now Kyrie is just able to play off the ball. He's able to score at will, play one-on-one if he wants to, slash, cut to the rim, get easy buckets. And this is just ultimately wreaking havoc on other teams' defenses. Because picture this. Back in 2016, Kyrie playing with Bron, it was a solid 1-2 punch because you had Bron who can do every single thing on the offensive end. Luka, what can he do on the offensive end? You tell me. I'm not saying he is LeBron at all. I'm not making that comparison, but I'm just saying, what can't he do on the offensive end? He can pass, he can shoot, he can post up, he can find others, he can get other people open. And when it just so happens that one of the people you're getting open is Kyrie Irving, oh, it's lethal. It's 20 plus points each game. It's lethal. And then Kyrie, on the other hand, just being the guy who's doing what he does best, just scoring the ball without having to actually be the leader of the offense. It's tremendous because we've seen Kyrie try to be the leader of an offense when he was in Boston, and it did not look good. I mean, I know there was some speculation about the standard of the team. I still think Brad Stevens could have probably cooked up a little bit of a better game plan when he had that roster, but ultimately, it did not look good when Kyrie had to be the leader of the team. We've seen Kyrie at his best anytime he's been number 2, anytime he's been that sidekick to some sort of co-star on the team. And right now, with Luka Doncic being the head of the team, the head of the offense, who's running the show, and Kyrie Irving being the sidekick, the number 2 option, which isn't a bad thing, it's a beautiful offensive process right now. Even the guys who are other role players on this team, it looks beautiful. Everyone understands their role. Everyone is following the lead from Luka to Kyrie and on and on and on. You see PJ Washington playing his role. You see Tim Hardaway Jr. playing his role. You see the bigs staying in line, playing defense and rebounding the ball without anything more. Like, it looks amazing from the Dallas Mavericks. And I'm going to just say this, bro. I would not be surprised if they end up going to the finals. It's really going to depend on who they play this postseason and where they finish in the standings and the rankings of who they'll play. Because, I mean, Luka has already had his playoff experience. He's beaten teams in the playoff by himself. So I know he's ready to go to the next level. Kyrie has already won a championship. He's ready to go back and win it again. The other guy, like Luka, has been with the same group of guys for a large majority of the time. So they have the experience of losing in the playoffs. And I think if things go right, we could definitely see the Dallas Mavericks in the finals. I wouldn't be surprised if I seen the Dallas Mavericks go to the NBA finals this year. But look, like I said, we're staying in Dallas here. We got a voicemail call after this side note. But the side note thing here, bro, a lot of people always ask me, hey, Manny, why don't you talk about my team, bro? You never talk about my team. I hear you talk about, the Celtics. You talk about the Lakers. You talk about the Warriors. You talk about this. You talk about that. But you never talk about my teams, bro. Why is that? The thing with me is, like, I don't mind talking about anything. As you know, I can talk on here all day, any day, all the time. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about bad teams when your team isn't doing anything. Because I'll ask, okay, yeah, I'll talk about your team. Who's your team? And you're like, yeah, the Charlotte Hornets. I'm like, bro, what the hell am I supposed to do with the Charlotte Hornets right now? Like, I don't even, as much as I love the Pistons, I don't even talk about the Pistons because they've been so bad. So it's hard for me to sit here and just have a legitimate conversation about a bad team that's going on in the NFL or the NBA, MLB, NHL. I'm not talking about a bad team because it's nothing to talk about. Clearly, they stink. And what is it to brag about or boast about with this team? I mean, I know they're not going to be in the playoffs. I know they're not the best in the league. I know they're not creating any havoc in the league. But damn it, I mean, only thing we can compare is who is the worst right now. And I'm not doing that because at the end of the day, if we compare who's worse, we're just saying which team is it's sad, bro. That's a sad conversation and I can't do it, bro. That's just me. That's just me. Maybe you care for bad teams. Maybe you like bad teams in the league. Maybe you find it more interesting. So if that is the case, you got to let me know because I can try. I'll try, bro, but I don't know if it'll be nice. Y'all not going to like me off of that. You're going to be like, oh, bro, you always talking trash about my team, the Charlotte Hornets. You say we suck because you do. So it's like, you got to let me know, bro. Even the Pistons, I talk about the Pistons, but when I talk about the Pistons on occasion, it ain't like I'm saying, oh, the Pistons still the best team in the world right now statistically and play-wise. No, I tell you, they stink and they're trash and Monty Williams needs to be fired and Cade is the only good thing in Detroit right now. Ivy is a little okay, but sometimes he's shaky too. Duran is okay, but a lot of the rest of the people on the team, we need to run a 5-deep roster and just let 5 guys play 48 minutes because it don't make sense. And I think Charlotte Hornets need to take after that same model because it don't make sense. And you know what? I'll give you a little love. I'll give you a little love while we're on the side note because that's what it's for. If you're the Charlotte Hornets and you're wondering why I don't talk about the Charlotte Hornets, it's because it's so damn dysfunctional over there. That team has no direction at all. I don't see them trading to get more picks, to bring in some more young talent. I don't see them elevating the talent that they already have on there. It's a lot of injuries going on over there. So LaMelo isn't playing. That takes away some hype of what I possibly could talk about with the Charlotte Hornets right now. They don't win ball games, so I'm damn sure not about to talk about how they lose in every single game. So you tell me, what is it for me to talk about with the Charlotte Hornets outside of the front office being bad, the players actually playing to a subpar skill level, injuries on the Charlotte Hornets? I don't know what else it is to talk about. But anyway, look, I'll leave it to you. If it's something I'm missing, maybe your team isn't the Hornets. Maybe it's the Spurs with Wemby. And Wemby did his thing the other night. He balled out. I mean, they ended up pulling out a close game over OKC, who I think is overrated, which I'll touch on later on in the show. Sneak peek. But, I mean, they beat the Thunder, but ultimately they still only won 12 games this entire season. So it's nothing to be hype about. So you see where I'm at a crossroad, right? After that, I have nothing else to talk about with the San Antonio Spurs. But look, I don't know. Maybe give me some information. Ask me some questions. Tell me something about your team that I'm not catching, whether they're good or no, whether they're bad. If they're bad, maybe your true team is a bad team right now. Maybe they're the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, go ahead. Shoot me a call. 219-413-9405. And we will play your take back on our next episode. I'm curious now. So, I mean, if you got a team out there that you really like and you wondering how they doing, and they're bad, let me know. Let me know, because I'll definitely answer it. Now, look, we got our voicemail caller here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to jump back into our voicemail callers, then some news. Now, with the voicemail caller, he had a lot to get off his chest. I'll be honest, bro. He didn't like something I was saying about his team and his guy, who's the leader of his team. So he tried to check me a little bit. It was dope. Okay. But I'll play that back as soon as we come back from the break. We're going to take a quick break, and then it's halftime. We got some news and voicemail callers, and also some more about Oklahoma City Thunder and some overranked teams and overhyped teams in the NBA. We'll be right back. It's halftime. All right, let's get into it, man. I told you, I got the voicemail callers here on the line with me, man. We're going to jump into it. And this guy in particular, he had a lot to get off his chest when I was talking about his team, the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they don't play about their team, the Dallas Cowboys, which is why I kind of love talking about them, because they're not good. They're not good at all. I love messing with Cowboys fans. But anyway, he had some stuff to say. We're only going to play one of his takes right now. He left a longer voicemail. We will end up playing it. We're just going to do it in another episode and respond to the full thing. But right now, this is all he had to say. We're just going to play this take. Let's hear it.
How you doing? My name is Derek Sutcher-Cole. I'm calling responding to the segment you had about Dak Prescott.
Let's do it.
And the Dallas Cowboys being the dumbest team in the NFL. If they paid him.
Yes, sir.
Broke the bank for him, I think is what you said.
Yes, sir.
So here's my response to that. They have to pay him. They don't really have a choice to pay him. First of all, his cap number's way too high. There's no way around it. They have to pay him. So they're not going to be, they're kind of in a situation where, they don't have any other choices. They're not able to draft a quarterback who's good enough to replace Dak Prescott. They're not able to go out in free agency and get a better quarterback, at a cheaper price than Dak Prescott. So there's no way around them paying him, the money that he's going to command, as if he were a free agent or what he deserves, right? Whether you believe it or not that he deserves it, that's not the question. That's the way the NFL works. So then the other things that you were saying I'd like to talk about is you named all these qualities about Dak Prescott that makes you believe he's not worth the money and that the Cowboys are dumb for paying him. Arm strength, you said, was not elite. Dak Prescott's arm strength is not elite when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes or John Elway or Dan Marino. Maybe even you could throw Josh Allen and Justin Herbert in there. I mean, these are elite arm strength guys, best of the best. Nobody's better. So that's what, 5 guys that I named, maybe 6 guys in the history of the NFL. I'm talking about the history. I went back to John Elway, arm strength guys. Michael Vick is one of them that had just a crazy arm strength. So we're talking history of the NFL. His arm is not weak. He doesn't have a Chad Pennington arm. He's got adequate, if not better than average arm strength. So he's got good arm strength. You've never seen Dak Prescott not be able to make a throw. He throws the ball really well deep. Numbers back it up. His statistics back it up. His completion percentage backs it up, which is very high. He's got very good completion percentage. He throws corner routes perfectly. No issue there. Zip on the ball over the middle. No issue there. He's able to get the deep outs perfectly. The tape can prove it. There's no issue with arm strength. Yeah, he doesn't have freaking John Elway arm strength, right? He doesn't have Patrick Mahomes flick the wrist 70 yards arm strength, but nobody does, all right? Supreme ability to read a defense. There's no proof of that. There's no evidence of that because just look at his quarterback rating. Look at his completion percentage, touchdowns to interceptions. He's had 1 year where he had high interception numbers. He led the league.
All right, so look, I want to go ahead and stop it right there. And then again, as I mentioned, you can listen to the rest of it, on the next episode where, we'll just play the full voicemail and we'll respond to the full thing. But right now, it's just a sneak peek. Just a sneak peek of it, so you can go back and listen. But, regarding to the arm strength, this is what I'm going to respond to right now. Yes, Dak is, he doesn't have the overwhelming arm strength, and there's only a few people who do have the overwhelming arm strength. However, with Dak Prescott, The arm strength to me means nothing. No matter how well he can throw the ball deep, whatever his completion percentage is, if it's inaccurate, if he's not throwing the ball and getting it straight to his guys, to me, that invalidates however far he can throw the ball. Because I by no means mean that, Dak Prescott can't throw the ball far. I've seen him throw the ball far. I've witnessed it. I've watched games where he has played solid games and he's thrown the bar far inaccurate. But on a typical basis, what I see from Dak Prescott in terms of the arm strength is nothing near an overwhelming circumstance and nowhere near an overwhelming point of him throwing the ball. And I also noticed that it's not always accurate when he's throwing the ball. Whether it's long, whether it's short or medium, either way it goes, I see Dak as someone who throws the ball very inconsistently in terms of his accuracy and getting the ball there. And reading a defense, this is the key point in that, because if you know where your receiver is going to be, you know where a defender is going to be, it's going to help you. But to me, when I'm watching him throw multiple interceptions in crucial moments of the game, that tells me he's not really understanding what the defense is going to do, or he's not understanding what a defense is throwing at him and what coverage he has to look away from and what coverage he can throw into. That's why I say, in terms of his ability to break down the defense, I don't see that as something that's up there in terms of a high IQ from a quarterback. This is why I kind of get on Dak Prescott about certain things. So, again, the rest of the response, the rest of the voicemail call, you can hear it on the next on the full episode. It's literally just going to be a clip of the voicemail call. So you can go ahead and check that out. Hear the full story there. But ultimately, bro, definitely appreciate you calling. That was a solid take. I do agree with the part about the salary cap. I think that was dope. I really didn't. I was unaware of that. So, that to me, hearing that, I was able to look into it, look that up and understand that. So I do appreciate you even telling me that. And this is why I love having y'all on here, because sometimes, as I always say, I be talking out of my mind. And I need y'all to help me out if that's the case. I trust that you guys watch the games just as much as I do, if not more, because I know everybody's a different level of a sports fan. But this is exactly why I say, call the number. Let me know if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm right. And that was one of the things, too, why I really appreciate you calling, regardless of if we agree or not in the full version or not. It doesn't even matter if we agree or not. Ultimately, I'm glad you said it, because it educated me and educated all of the listeners and everyone who is on here listening about that extra cap hit that the Dallas Cowboys would take if they didn't re-sign Dak. And the only thing I got to say about that, re-signing, last thing, and then we jump into the news, I promise. Last thing, I'm curious. So if you know, or maybe someone else knows, I'm curious if they re-sign Dak and pay him a certain amount, if they'll still take that cap hit. Like, if they don't break the bank on Dak, if they just pay him a certain amount for like 1 or 2 years, if that would solve the issue of that particular amount that they would take in the cap hit, rather than, trying to cut him or just just get rid of him in total. So I am a little bit curious about that. But, so if you know the answer to that, hey, call back, let me know. Let's hear, or maybe you somebody else, you hearing it and you know a little bit more about the front office stuff. So let me hear that. Hey, nobody's perfect. But anyway, look, that number 219-413-9405. Shoot me a call. We'll play it back next episode and discuss more. But anyway, I got some news for the run here. Now, I just want to go over the NBA scores that happened over this past night. It was definitely some solid games that went on. You got some teams who's on some win streaks that also played tonight, some close games. But last night on Thursday, you had the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat the Charlotte Hornets 111-99. The Brooklyn Nets, they beat the Atlanta Hawks. The Warriors, they beat the New York Knicks, who's been playing fairly well. And apparently the Warriors have also been playing fairly well now that Draymond Green is back into the lineup. The San Antonio Spurs, they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's ranked top in the West. The Phoenix Suns, they beat the Rockets. The Miami Heat, they beat the Denver. Oh, no. Heat didn't beat the Nuggets. The Nuggets beat the Miami Heat in Denver. And then the Los Angeles Lakers beat the Washington Wizards. Now, a couple of games you can watch out for tonight. Maybe you bet on games. Maybe you just want to keep up with what's going on in the league. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they'll play the Detroit Pistons. The Dallas Mavericks, they'll play the 9-game winning streak team in the Boston Celtics. That's going to be a crazy game. I'm excited to watch that tonight. Definitely going to order some food or something for that. The Golden State Warriors, they'll play the Toronto Raptors, which is going to be a good matchup. Sacramento Kings. They'll be playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's ranked number 1 or 2 in the West right now. They're definitely top 2. So that'll be a great game as well. You got De'Aaron Fox, who's going to be returning from injury. Definitely going to be a solid game. The Milwaukee Bucks, they'll be playing the Chicago Bulls. I'll probably keep an eye out for this game as well. I'm anticipating a well-rounded game here. Last time these two matched up, I actually went to the game, and the game went to overtime. It was a crazy game. Alex Caruso hit a buzzer beater to send the game to overtime, and then the Chicago Bulls ended up winning in overtime. So it was definitely solid, man. I enjoyed watching that game. Now, look, I got a side note here. Now, one of these side notes is just about the Clippers. So the Los Angeles Clippers, maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. They recently rebranded their entire identity, changed their jerseys. They kept somewhat of the same colors, but you know, the old Clippers that you might have seen back in 2007, 2006, 2009, you don't really see those colors, the bright blue anymore. They still got the blue, red, and white, but it's just a different shade of blue. They changed the logo up a little bit. I think it's ultimately dope that they did this. And one of the things I think is really beneficial about them changing their colors and changing their brand, changing everything, changing their court, changing their front office. They get a new stadium next year too, so it's gonna be dope. And the main thing about this is that, to me, it signifies, I think that's a word. Yeah, it signifies or it signals a whole entire new change in culture. The Los Angeles Clippers getting an entire new arena alone is huge. Separating themselves from the same stadium or the same arena that they play with for the Los Angeles Lakers, to me, that's already huge, because they've been the Lakers' little brother for decades. Ever since they've been in the NBA, they've been the Lakers' little brother. They never won a championship. They always get beat in the playoffs. And to me, rebranding shifts all away from that. Sets yourself completely apart from that old losing culture that all those Clippers fans are used to, and that everyone in the NBA is used to. So, you know, I'm loving that they did rebrand. I think it's going to be dope ultimately. And I'm excited to see what they do in the playoffs as well, because they're a team that's definitely elite. They've had some injuries, but, you know, we're getting close to that crunch time in the NBA season. I think it's about to be cool, bro, because when I tell you it's a lot of good teams going on in the NBA right now, it is. You got your top 2 ranked teams in the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, but those guys, to me, are overrated. They're slightly overrated. Timberwolves and OKC are slightly overrated. The lights are going to be too bright for them come playoffs time, and I'm calling it now. I think, you know, they're great regular season teams. I see what they're doing, but the fact is that the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Timberwolves, they're capitalizing on beating teams who have all of these different problems with injuries and these guys who are missing their stars, bro. Like, that's just plain and simple. They're beating the good teams of the NBA, but without a co-star. Or they're beating teams without their star. They're beating teams on occasion with a fully healthy roster, but on a back-to-back night. It's a lot of different factors that go into why the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves are having a lot of success, because you look at some of these teams that have lost key players, it's a lot of them. The Phoenix Suns, they lost Bradley Beal. The Clippers, Paul George was hurt. Harden, Zubac, those guys were sitting out for some time. Lakers, Anthony Davis is always out. You look at the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie Irving was out for some time. Luka had to rest for some time. The Warriors, Draymond Green got suspended at one point. Kings, De'Aaron Fox was hurt at one point, just now coming back tonight. The Pelicans, Zion Williamson, the list goes on and on of injuries from these elite teams in the Western Conference. But the fact is, the only teams who haven't had any injuries is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, hence why they are sitting at number 1 and number 2. That's literally the main reason. And that's cool that they're taking care of business, but there's 7 elite teams missing key guys. By the time the playoffs get here, we're going to be looking at completely different teams rather than what you faced in the regular season. And, like, you know, it does, I want to give them credit, because it takes a lot to win ball games. So I don't want to completely trash them, but I'm going to just tell you where my concern lies. Because you got to get to the playoffs. You got to win in the playoffs. And before you can start winning in the playoffs, you got to lose. But these guys haven't even got to the journey of losing to the playoffs before they start winning, if that makes any sense. Like, to give you an example, and the only reason I even bring this up is just to prove a point, so stick with me. Like, the Oklahoma City Thunder ain't been all the way out of the first round of the NBA playoffs since 2016. That was the last time they made it out of the first round of the NBA playoffs, 2016, when they had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook there. In terms of the Minnesota Timberwolves, they ain't been back since 2004 out of the first round. So, yeah, I get they got the young talent, but these guys don't have the experience at all. You look at anybody on the list of the NBA stars, any team that's been good that actually went the distance and won a championship, they've all went to the NBA playoffs and lost at some point before they started winning. I mean, we look at LeBron. He was getting his tail beat down by the Boston Celtics. He was getting his tail beat down by the Spurs once he actually went to the finals. Steph Curry was getting beat down by the Spurs. He got beat by the Rockets, by the Thunder. It was a couple of rough years in there before he was actually able to thrive. Shaq, even you go all the way back to Shaq, and as successful as a career that he's had, when he was with the Magic, he couldn't get it done. Went all the way to the finals, didn't get it done. He went to the Lakers in the first few years with them. Him and Shaq and Kobe didn't get it done. They had to go to the playoffs and lose a little bit before they could start having success. So I bring all of that up just to say, yes, OKC and the Timberwolves, they're good teams right now, but they don't have any sort of playoff experience that's going to help propel them out of the first round to me. Because they get matched up against the Lakers, I'm taking the Lakers. They get matched up against the Phoenix Suns, I'm taking the Suns. Like, there's no guy that has had that much success in their first round of the playoffs. The only person is Magic Johnson. So, I'll put it that way. And that's a fun fact, actually. Magic Johnson, man, I'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with that fun fact. Magic Johnson is still the only player to lead his team to an NBA Finals, win the championship, and also receive the Finals MVP as a rookie in the NBA. He's the only one to go to the playoffs with no playoff experience and win. It doesn't happen often, but I mean, I think it was dope. I think it's dope. Anyway, look, man, that's all I got for y'all today. I appreciate you for hanging with me. I know it was kind of a longer episode today. We were kind of, talking about a lot of different things, had a lot of different things to cover, but hey, go ahead, shoot me your call, 219-413-9405. If you heard something you agree with, you disagree with, maybe you like, maybe you dislike it. Who knows? Go ahead, shoot me a call. Let me know what you think. Other than that, man, that's all I got for you guys. Check out the rest of that voicemail call as well. It's going to be posted in just a second after this episode is posted. So you can go ahead and check that out as well if you want to hear the full version of that. Send this to a cousin, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, a niece, a nephew, anyone you know who may enjoy this, even a co-worker. But other than that, man, follow me on Instagram at The Run Podcast. You can follow my personal as well at I am Manny Wilson. And until then, we will be back later on next week, and so on and so on and so on.